So we're back with the dumbest bill in America, and we have with us Delegate Brian Chisholm, who is still wearing shorts.
And apparently, still very comfortable.
And he's wearing shorts with a jacket. No tie, but, with a jacket. I'm guessing that's what you do when you do Zoom, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. They can only see you
Business up top, running down bottom.
So House Bill 823 is the dumbest bill in America, Brian. It's from the state of Maryland, and the bill is Artificial Intelligence Transparency from Delegate Wu. So got to give a little bit of background on this. Delegate Wu is from mainland China. He moved to Maryland and ran for office and became a delegate. So he came from a Chinese communist country and became a Democrat in Maryland, which many ways resembles the Chinese Communist Party. Not completely, but in many ways it does. And Delegate Wu put a bill in that requires you, if you have an artificial intelligence company, to provide all of the information that you use to train your model and to disclose it. And I wonder why he wants to do that, Brian. Maybe you can help us with this.
I don't think mainland China wants that information at all. I don't think the Chinese would find that information useful. And I think that we should definitely trust the state of Maryland to keep it secure for us.
That's right. So folks out there in podcast land, the one thing, if there's that one thing that we're competing with on China, is artificial intelligence, right? And you need a lot of power for artificial intelligence, and you need a lot of brain power. You need a lot of electricity. You need a lot of brain power. You also need a lot of data sets. You need a lot of data that you collect. And so who has a lot of data? Well, China does, and the United States does, for a lot of different reasons, which we won't go into right now. Delegate Wu, maybe because he's trying to help a constituent, wants to make the U.S., whoever has, in Maryland, an AI company, provide all the information. Even the Department of Legislative Services, Brian, in the state of Maryland, said in his bill, they said in the fiscal note where they described the bill, they said, well, this is probably going to make it impossible for anyone to actually have a company.
That's right.
Or if they do, they're probably going to want to, move.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I mean, our biggest concern here in the United States, not just in Maryland, is the intellectual theft, right? That's what they're doing. They're stealing our ideas. So what do? We put a bill out to say, don't worry about stealing it. We're going to give it to you on a platter. It's like, we should not put doors or locks on the jewelry stores anymore. Don't worry about it. Turn the alarms off. Let's just put it out there to be fair to everybody, because that's what it is. We're taking our intellectual property of private companies and saying, we shouldn't let you guard that. You should tell us what's there and trust us. I mean, because the state of Maryland has never been hacked before.
No, of course not. Of course not. So podcast listeners, you're going to love this. So, Brian and I were incapable of we're incapable of BS. And when Delegate Wu was first elected, which was just a couple of years ago, I went up to him and I said to him, hey, you know what's really interesting, Delegate Wu? You're from Chinese Communist mainland, right? And he goes, yes, I am. He can, his English is very hard to understand. He's a very nice guy. Okay, to be clear. I said, well, all throughout history, when someone moves from a communist country, they move to the United States, they become Republicans. Because the reason they moved from the communist country is because they don't like statism. They don't like control. They don't like the surveillance state. They don't like all these bad things. Right. So I said to Delegate Wu, I said, why would you register as a Democrat? Yeah. Which, reflects more like where you came from. Why would you just stay with us, the Republican Party? And he's like, and he took off, he couldn't even explain that at all. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, you would find that most people that have escaped, that's what it is. They've escaped China and they come here.
Cuba.
And they're looking for freedom and they embrace what our country believes in. And then we have instances like with Wu, and he's like, no, I think it's a good idea to put all of this out there for people to see, including China. And he doesn't have a real answer of why do we want to do this? This is scary stuff. This is what they do in China, right? You're not allowed in China to have a private business without letting the government know everything about the business.
Yes, the government in China is your partner. In fact, the government in China becomes the majority partner anytime they want to, for any reason or for no reason. And here's Delegate Wu putting this bill in Maryland, in the United States. He came from a country where you don't have any of those freedoms. And what is he doing? He's trying to shut down one of the most important industries in the United States, and he's trying to shut it down in the state of Maryland. Pretty remarkable, wouldn't you say? Final thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I watched a movie called The China Hustle, and you know that the China government and China businesses are encouraged to lie to American businessmen and lie to our country because they know we're in the battle, and all they want to do is steal our stuff. And once again, I have to question, Delegate Wu, are you really just out there putting it out on full display to say, hey, please take this from us? And if you're doing that, for what reason? Exactly.
And that's the dumbest bill in America, House Bill 823 in the state of Maryland, AI transparency. See you next time.